Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. I have a question for you. Not that I could hear you answer. But my question is, have you ever been so caught up in something where you just started buying things that in the end you were like, oh my God, not necessarily complete buyer's remorse, but just after a while you're like, man, I've really accumulated a lot of things. Maybe it's time to let go of some stuff. That's the purpose of this conversation right now. I remember, and I'll start with my, of course I'm going to talk about myself. I remember when I first came back to the hobby. I originally came back to the hobby in 2013, but I didn't really start getting heavily involved in my return until 2014. That's when I started buying books that I've always wanted. I started upgrading. I came on YouTube. I joined Facebook, all of that. And that's when I really came back full swing. And, I managed to get a lot of things. But also during that time, I've noticed that I just started getting too much stuff. And after I bought it, I didn't necessarily think I had buyer's regret or anything like that. But it wasn't until maybe a couple years later where I'm like, do I really want this? And that's where I'm at right now, where I'm just trying to sell a bunch of things that I just really don't want to make room for things that I do want. Because I'm just tired of having so much stuff. And maybe you feel the same way. But that's really it. I mean, have you ever got so caught up in something? Maybe it's not comic books. Maybe it's something else. Just got so caught up with buying stuff. Like some of you I know collect action figures. Where do you put it all? How do you maintain all this? Do you maintain a certain lifestyle where it's comfortable? I mean, what is that? Tell me. But yeah, like I said, after a while, I got just so caught up with everything. And the best example I could give for me when it comes to just getting so caught up in things was Walking Dead. I liked the show when I came back to the hobby in 2014. I was watching the show since the first season. I was like, wow, this was a comic book? This is really cool. Really cool. And it wasn't until a couple of years later when I started getting the Walking Dead books. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start collecting this because I really liked the show. My friend showed me a trade paperback. I thought it was really cool. It reminded me a little bit like EC, not completely like EC, because EC was an anthology and Walking Dead wasn't. But I liked the idea that it was just like this one long story arc. Kind of reminded me of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That was the one Star Trek show that had long story arcs. Sure, Next Generation and other shows like Voyager and all that, they had their two-parters or three-parters, reoccurring characters. That's been since the original series. But Deep Space Nine introduced something where they had these season-wide story arcs, which I thought was so cool. And that's what Walking Dead was like. It was an EC horror type atmosphere with zombies and other things that are going on, obnoxious people, nasty people, evil people. But it's just like this one long story arc, and I just thought that was fascinating. So I got all caught up in it. I got 2 Walking Dead #1s. I got them for good prices at the time. I was watching. I was caught up, but I was still watching when I paid. I had all major first appearances, all major important books in that run. But after a couple of years, I said to myself, you know what? I don't know if I want these anymore. I might want something else. I might want to actually save up for other things. So I started selling my Walking Dead collection. And I sold them right at the perfect time. Because after I sold my #1s and a couple others, some still lingered on. But some of the other important books like the first Michonne, first Abraham, first whomever, that's when I noticed the show started to lose some steam and the comics started to lose a little bit of steam. I mean, if you're a Walking Dead fan right now, it's probably a good time to buy some of those books. I mean, I'm sure they're still pricey. I'm sure the first appearance of Michonne is still up there, but I don't think it's going for what it used to go for about 5-6 years ago. Same thing with Walking Dead #1. I mean, hey, it's probably a really good time to start buying those high-grade copies. If you're really a big fan and you'd like to have those in your collection, maybe now is the time to get them. But I knew it was time for me to get out of that, you know, and I was glad when I did because it helped me get a couple books. I mean, some of my Walking Dead #1s helped me get Amazing Fantasy 15 and Detective Comics 140. So I can't say that I feel bad about that. I don't miss The Walking Dead. I don't miss any of the books I sell. Very rarely do I do. Let me rephrase that. Very rarely I'll sell a book and I'll say, oh my God, I really missed that. Sometimes I'll sell a book because, you know, the price, it's going for a good price, right? It's selling for a lot of money. I'm like, you know, hey, I could always get this book back, you know, when the hype goes down. There's nothing wrong with that if you don't mind keeping it, you know, getting it back in your collection for that reason. But sometimes when a book is selling for good money, it's time to let it go, to put that money for other things. And that's just the way I feel. I'm not saying you need to feel like that, but that's just the way I feel and have felt for a while. So tell me a little bit about you. I mean, have you gotten caught up in anything? Was there like a time when you got so caught up in something you were just buying everything? Were you chasing something that you could never quite get? Whatever that is, it means something different to everybody. But I'd be interested in hearing some of your stories, some of your tales about a time when you just got so caught up in something you were just buying everything, and then after a while you might have had buyer's regret, buyer's remorse, or you just said, you know what, I just accumulated so much stuff. What am I going to do with all this? What's my end game with all of this? What am I going to do with it? And then you just decided to sell it or put it somewhere where your intention is to sell it or get rid of it in some way. So let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching and stay tuned. Take care.